Our next keynote speaker is Mitch Bowman, Executive Director of Civil War Trails. Since 1996, Mitch Bowman has served as the Executive Director of Civil War Trails. He brings an infectious passion and sense of excitement to his job. Civil War Trails is a nonprofit organization that has interpreted more than 1,100 Civil War sites throughout Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Mr. Bowman, who was raised in Charles City County, is a graduate of the University of Virginia. Throughout the 1980s, he was an officer in the United States Air Force and flew F-111 aircraft in Europe and in the Middle East. Mr. Bowman is an author of Where Banners Flew, an aerial view of Virginia's history. Please make welcome Mitch Bowman.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Atkins. It's a delight to be here. It really is. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you today. Gee, you have a lot on your plates. Going through the agenda of this 77th Congress Convention for VACO and looking at some of the issues that confront you directly before you even get to the office. Transportation, sanitation, clean water, my word, challenging budgets, human resources. Did I say challenging budgets? My words. It really is indeed a pleasure to take a few minutes today to speak with you about the Civil War, the 150th anniversary, known as the sesquicentennial, but I won't say that again. I'll try not to, and I certainly won't ask you to spell it. But I'd like to take a few minutes and just talk to you about what the Commonwealth is doing for the 150th anniversary, which has already started. It will be a 4-year commemoration. And really how you can cultivate and capture some of the literally worldwide interest in the American Civil War, particularly through tourism in your localities. It's been a pleasure, and people say, well, gee, Mitch, you wear a lot of different hats. And I do. I mean, there have been times when I've spoken to Senator Warner's office, and my next conversation is to Miss Utility, quite literally. But I'm often asked, well, what's the fun part of your job? You get to talk Civil War? Well, that's fun, but I'm a reasonable human being and don't live in the past. The most fun I've had, the most pleasurable experience is coming into your communities. Nearly 80 counties in the Commonwealth are in our program, are bona fide members of Virginia Civil War Trails. And to go into the localities and for you to open up your cherished sites, tell me all the behind-the-scenes stories, bring out the Historical Society or every Civil War nuts or history enthusiast is passionate about his or her topic, and to be shown the old wells and the springs and the churchyards and so forth. And I remember back early 1996 as I was going around Pennsylvania County, Spotsylvania County, counties that sometimes I had trouble pronouncing. And went home one day and my wife said, golly, I said to her, I said, this is such an honor to go into these localities. And they bring out their treasures, you get behind the scenes in the museums and everything. And she said, well, that's great, honey. I said, what's funny, sweetie, is they think I know everything. And she said, well, be sure to keep your mouth quiet so you don't spoil it. So it's been a pleasure to be with you. I'm very proud of Virginia as it has approached, as the battleground 150 years ago, quite literally, but as it has approached this 150th anniversary of the war. 27 states have some form of official and legislative recognized commission or 150th anniversary group, but none like Virginia. The closest would be Tennessee, but none like Virginia. Most states have simply provided per diem for a couple of volunteers to go speak, hold lectures, and the tourism organizations through the other states have attempted to cobble together a brochure of some museums and a couple of the battlefields that they may have. Not in Virginia. What we have done is form a true partnership, both with our program, Virginia Civil War Trails, with the Sesquicentennial Commission, the 150th Commission, with VDOT, who's been a huge partner of ours for 16 years, with the Virginia Tourism Corporation, and with you. We have 102 jurisdictions across the Commonwealth that are members of our nonprofit. As I mentioned earlier, nearly 80 counties. We have currently 464 Civil War Trail sites throughout Virginia, 464 Civil War Trail sites. So we actually have the product out there that no other states do. And I'm going to tell you, when it comes to Civil War tourism, and I have some numbers in a moment, but it's huge, and it's been huge. Let me go ahead and throw one big number out. In 2007, as we recognize the 400th anniversary of the landing of Jamestown, at the end of 2007, the Virginia Economic Development Partnership did an 8-page profile and an impact study. And it showed that 2% of all travelers to the Commonwealth experienced a Jamestown 2007 event. 2%. That same year, 8% actively sought out a Civil War site. 8%, 4 times that number in 2007. And now we're knocking on 10% of the door. That's 3.5 million people 2 years ago, in the most recent study, actively sought out and visited a Civil War site or a Civil War trail site. We have been, since 2005, the single most requested item through the Virginia Tourism Corporation, aside from the state travel guide. And I want to tell you, it's all about your sites. If I were giving you a test after this, that would be the correct answer. It's all about your sites, linking stories to your sites and your counties and to your structures. Let me talk about what a site is to us briefly. And it's very simple, or it sounds simple. Number one, it's clearly and accurately interpreted. That means that on site you have at a minimum a 4-color, 3-by-2-foot interpretive marker to tell you exactly what happened, exactly where you're standing. Secondly, there must be available parking. And that's been the difficult thing. That's the real challenge, opening the landscape. Thirdly, it must be maintained, not only the grounds, but half of my job is maintenance on a daily basis. We maintain our signage. It literally protects the program. So those with degrees far higher than ours at the National Trust for Historic Preservation, they say that a history site, a heritage site, must be authentic and it must be relevant to the visitor. Authentic and relevant. Well, kind of in a way, what does that mean when you get in a minivan? It means that just because something is a fact doesn't make it interesting. And so we've humanized as much as we can the stories we tell, the history we tell at sites. And then we encourage people, both graphically and thematically, to travel from one site to the other. And I've been the bane of many, many historians when I've said, but I stick by it because I do it on a daily basis. I would take one county planner for 10 historians. Opening the landscape has been the challenge, and of the current 464 Civil War Trail sites throughout Virginia, 399 of those sites have been interpreted on location for the very first time, and nearly 200 of those sites are offering first-time public access. You see Timmons there in their room. We built 52 parking lots across the Commonwealth with Timmons. And what do people see when they get there? We want them, just to go back briefly, and we want them to read the first, or look at read the first line of the marker, or look at the picture on the marker. We want their heads to go up. That's what it's all about. And take a quick look here. Here we are at Massapanic's Church in Spotsylvania County. Now, don't expect a family from Racine, Wisconsin to be able to pronounce that. But they don't have to. It's the story that they care about. Look at the marker. Look how few words are on that marker. Timothy O'Sullivan, a photographer, followed the Union Army of the Potomac under General Meade and General Grant in 1864. He stuck his head out of the little window of the pediment there at the top of the church and took the picture that you see to the right of the marker. It was such a hot day in May that the generals had pulled all the pews out of the church and they sat in the front yard, and we call it a council of war. That's the type of immediacy and place and space that travelers along the Civil War Trail enjoy. I'm often asked from different news organizations, what's the one sentence about the program? What makes it work? And really, in one word, it's access. It's access to your sites, to your history, and to your structures, and the program allows us to do that. Recently, just within the last few weeks, we've installed interpretive markers in several counties that heretofore had not been part of the program. Rappahannock County, we're installing more than 20 new sites in Rappahannock County. Montgomery County, Wise County, and of course several cities on the way. And yes, we only use females in our marketing. Two reasons. They do the travel planning, and we want to widen the audience of these stories of triumph and tragedy associated with the sites and structures in your communities of the American Civil War. Now, just as the campaigns and the armies rolled across the borders, not only county borders, which was big 15 years ago to do, but statewide borders, so have we. We've been invited by the Departments of Transportation and the tourism offices into 5 other states. And so we have grown now. We have more than 1,300 sites. More than 1,000 of those sites we've been able to interpret with our partner states for the very first time. What keeps me awake at night is the fact that we have interpretive markers on 218 courthouse lawns. And we're working on more than 300 markers currently for development, design, and installation throughout the sesquicentennial. It's a no-brainer for these travel offices. And here you have our 5 primary state travel directors, Elisa Bailey there, second from the left, the Maryland Office of Tourism, and so forth, West Virginia, North Carolina. It not only allows them to market a Civil War product, as they like to call it, or program that's out on the landscape and doing great things for communities, it allows them to not only market that less expensively, but more effectively, quite honestly. The map guide that you have has 504 sites in it. It's one of the main fulfillment pieces for the state of Virginia. It is the primary Civil War fulfillment piece for the state of Maryland. If you open it up and flip it over, you'll see our 5 primary chronological trails in there. But look at the back. This is the Maryland piece. This has your sites in your counties on it that we've worked so hard the last 15 years. This piece was paid for by the state of Maryland, and since I've been standing up here, they've mailed it to prospective travelers. And that's how travelers want to travel. That's how the history played out throughout the Commonwealth and in neighboring states. And that's what distinguishes our program from any other. So we like to say that people can avail themselves 2 minutes at any one site, 2 hours along a portion of the trail, 2 days on an entire campaign, or as some nuts from the United Kingdom, Germany, and California, 2 weeks taking off sites along the map guides and various regional trails that we have. Some of the efficiency here, a 1-page ad actually publicizes visitation to 1,300 sites, and each state uses similar type advertising. I want to just stop for a quick second as I move along here and talk about interpretation. A lot of you are asked to do historical markers, or groups in your localities to do historical markers. Our markers on the Civil War Trails program are done for visitors. We're not going to tell the soldiers what happened 150 years ago. We want to compel the travelers to travel where they otherwise would not have gone along Route 619 or 607 and tell them what happened there. I kind of have to sing out to Isle of Wight County as one example here. They preserved a fort along the James River. It's now very much like a park. This is one of our interpretive markers there. It talks about the Peninsula Campaign. Notice the red banner says Peninsula Campaign. The little yellow section on the upper left tells them what the heck the campaign was, even what a peninsula is. Don't assume too much when you do your interpretive markers. A schematic of the fort that they can then walk around properly after they read the marker. And in the upper left-hand corner, graphically we compel them to go to the adjacent sites. And that's really worked quite well. Our gateway signage, this one we have 9 sites at the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, so people are standing at them at this exact moment. This is on top of Federal Hill. It's a gateway marker. We are, because of Sean Canal, who has supported this through VDOT, Secretary of Transportation, We're placing these at all of the welcome centers throughout Virginia now to highlight the regional sites, to get people off the interstates, get them into your communities before they go back home. Most requested item, I mentioned that. I want to tell you briefly, as I go into my last section, I want to tell you that go back home and ask your Civil War related museum or your Civil War site if their numbers are up. They should be. They should be up almost double digit. They should be up 8 to 10%. Things are happening already. Virginia Historical Society, the new Civil War exhibit, their visitation is up 30% this year, and we're in the first of 4 years. Many of you are going to have double dip opportunities over the next several years. 2012, so 1862 was a big year. 1863, 1864, 1865. Most localities had 62 and 64 action within the military action within the locality. So please feel that this is not a one-time or one-year thing, and we see it building and building as we continue. One of the huge exciting things in Virginia is the filming of the movie Lincoln. And that's done by Steven Spielberg, filming it on the exact locations, particularly in Richmond, Petersburg. Virginia Hospitality and Travel Association estimates a $35 million impact just to film the movie. Virginia Tourism Corporation is going to leverage that into Civil War advertising and trails advertising. There were two enigmatic figures in the American Civil War, Robert E. Lee and Abraham Lincoln, and Virginia owns both of them. Not only the personalities and their backgrounds, but the sites which they visited. Lastly, we're one of the most tangible activities you can do for your community during the 150th commemoration. The Commission has some great projects, the digitization project, the History Mobile is a good visible project, the various lecture series. But I tell you what, when we put a marker out time and time and time again, in so many various and wonderful ways, I see interpretation leading to appreciation, leading to education, leading to preservation. And these markers, which must have available parking, we want people to get out of the car to read the markers, period. That's how we position them. Are ready-made toe holds for Boy Scout, Girl Scout, Garden Club projects. We've had churches take sites over, split rail fencing. I have a form letter for Eagle Scout projects. It's been wonderful. So it keeps on giving. Other interpretation begins to appear at our sites. But the dedications are so much fun. The National Park Service, which you see here, has been a real supporter and partner of ours. We're the only nonprofit that has historical markers on 11 different national parks. And we get to tell the stories between the parks. So they have been huge supporters. Here we are, the Stone House. This is in Fairfax County, quite literally beneath the Interstate 66. Quite literally. But the old stone church, maybe you can see a little image in the lower left, we're standing exactly where the photographer stood during the war and took a picture of the old stone church there, which is still there. Don't think you have to know the history of the Civil War to get some Civil War sites interpreted and open up new tourism venues in your counties. Have you ever met a Civil War buff who wasn't passionate? Leverage that energy. Leverage that energy, but tie that story to the specific site. And our marketing programs here at Heartwood Church, just over the border in Stafford County, the marketing program for the state actually is a one-to-one match for the Civil War Trails interpretive markers. We're talking to Lee County. A lot of counties, particularly in the Southwest, that have not been part of the program, are beginning to come on board. We're going to update and reprint early in the year, it should be on press in February, our new statewide map guide. If you don't see your locality included in Maryland's, we certainly want to do that and include you. So lastly, just value your historic sites, public and private, as you grapple with all the issues in your locality. Love to see you get on board. Most of our new markers, as I mentioned, we're working on 350 additional sites over the next 4 years. Most of those, 80 to 90%, are in counties that have already been part of the program. So they are adding more counties. And I'm easy to reach, would love to help you in so many various ways. And I guess keep in mind, lastly, that visitors come to your counties not because of the county name. They come there to visit your sites and your structures, period. And on a good day, our program is going to be able to get them into the county and at least get them lost for a while, at a minimum. That's on a good day. On a great day, we're going to have them coming back, bringing their children and their children's children. So think big picture with this, bringing your tourism, your historical society with your comprehensive planning. Have a great conference. I can't thank you enough for all the support the last 15 years. I look forward to working with you the next 4 or 5.